Hey there, you want to maybe kind of sort of memorize a lot more Spanish vocab? Well, if so, stay tuned because this may be the most important video you'll ever see. This is Anthony Metivier from magneticmemorymethod.com, and what you're going to get in this video today is a lesson in using a memory palace to memorize Spanish vocabulary. You're going to get some detailed examples of associative imagery that helps do this by placing these images along a palace journey, and then I'm going to give you some powerful resource suggestions specifically for places to get cool and maybe sometimes a little bit too sophisticated but still really cool Spanish vocabulary words, and then the pros and cons of the process, because basically what I'm doing is experimenting with the ways of my readers. Now, you may or may not know who I am, but I have thousands and thousands of people who read my books, and they write to me hundreds every month, and I write back, so, send me a note and we'll talk. But the thing is they do things differently than the magnetic memory method describes, which is really, really awesome because it's a method, right? It's not a system. It's something you absorb into your life and then you use it to create your own system of memory palaces, which is what makes it really unique. So it's the guidelines and the suggestions and the groundwork that you can go through in order to basically create your own systematic procedures for memorizing mounds and mounds and mounds of vocabulary in any language. Today we're talking about Spanish, but nonetheless, people take this and they do their own thing. And so I started trying to experiment a little bit with their own thing. So let's take a look at this. Basically, I always draw my memory palaces, and in this case it's no different, but I also hear that people just like to write them in a Word file and so forth. Well, I didn't use a Word file in this particular case. I used the plain text app in my iPhone, which I'm not sure if that is available for non-iPhone smartphones, but anyway, it's awesome if you have an iPhone, and it's just amazing. It's the coolest thing because you can sync it to Dropbox, and it just sends that stuff up to heaven every second that you change the document. You never lose anything. And I love to build memory palaces. I've already drawn them, of course, but I love to just fill them while I'm in bed. So basically what you're seeing here is a Spanish memory palace, and here's where things get different. Now, normally I would use Alan's house, for instance, or other people whose name starts with A, or other buildings that start with A or are in some way associated with the letter A, to memorize words that start with the letter A in and of themselves. But because of some things that have been going on that my readers have been doing, I decided to just completely go random, not have any kind of alphabetical strategy whatsoever. And just because this was day one, I used an A palace, and could have been a Z palace. It's totally irrelevant in the way that a lot of people use the techniques of the magnetic memory method. So what you're seeing here, we're going to go back to this, but there's a dining room table in Alan's house, and there's a reason to pick that particular place in his house as opposed to any other, and that's because it is the one place in the house where I can make a path that goes all the way through the house and outside the house without crossing my own path and without trapping myself in any way. And it's really, really beautiful. And these are all principles that I go into detail, but that's why it starts at the dining room table. There's strategy here. There's meaning and technique behind the choices that we make in memory palaces in order for them to be super successful. So what you see here is Lobo and Loba, of course, for the feminine, and there's a wolf on the table making Bo crouch low. And Bo is a friend of mine from high school, and he's got boxing gloves on, which helps to remember that Lobo is El Lobo, a masculine term, and the wolf is chewing through them. So really the key things here are Bo and Lo, and of course they're out of order, but it doesn't matter because my mind knows this, and we don't need the Loba feminine there, but if we did want to memorize that, if we needed to, we could have or I could, but you're going to do your own thing, of course, but there could be a female wolf with a skirt on too, and she could have a big A on that skirt, or it could be the scarlet letter or something like that, and she would be feminine, and that skirt would remind that, and there would be somehow that sound involved, because that's the whole point, right? We make an image that recalls not only how the word sounds but what it means. So meaning and sound come together at a specific location along a journey in a memory palace in order to enable us to memorize and recall whatever we want whenever we want. So then we see the computer desk, and this goes on and on. It's a very long document. Now, how is all this happening? Well, in bed, I have on my iPhone, learn Spanish by telling stories. It's not for beginners, not quick and easy, but really effective. Well, with all due respect to this author, it's actually pretty fast and it's pretty easy, and you can make it even more effective by using memory palaces. So you'll notice here that the first sentence has that word loba, and it just happens that I used obrego to be the next word for a reason that I'll show you coming up. But dio, which comes from dar, is the next word, and luz, and all these other words that you see in these sentences, padrino, they're all the next words in that memory palace. So in other words, what I'm doing is just reading and taking the words, not at random, but the words that are in this sentence, and putting them in a memory palace. And that's completely different than what I would do using the normal procedures of the magnetic memory method. But it's still kind of cool. And this is the source. And it's a really, 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 really cool book. And so how do we use this book? Well, we find some words that we don't know as we're reading, and then Spanish Dict, which is a cool dictionary. I don't think it's nearly as good or fun as a paper dictionary, but it's probably the best that I've seen for iPhone, and it may be for other devices as well. And now you can see why that I have Lobrego as the next word in that image that I showed you before. It's because it just happened to be there. But you don't have to add words that happen to be there, but it's really cool to pick them up. But normally I would just go to the next word in the sentence that I don't know and look that up and then add it to the memory palace by creating a very memorable image that helps recall both the meaning and the sound of the word. So that's basically what happens. You come back, boom, 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 type the image that you've created in your mind, and you're able to recall it. And of course, you want to go through a specific recall rehearsal procedure so that it goes into long-term memory. You can get a lot of mileage out of just doing this once, but if you really, really, really want to get it into long-term memory, then you want to go through a recall rehearsal process. And also, I assume that as a serious Spanish learner, you're reading, writing, speaking, and listening to as much Spanish as you can on a daily basis so that you're bumping into these words again and again and again, which will also install them into your memory, but you don't have to go hunting for flashcards. And oh man, flashcards drive me nuts in spaced repetition software. So boring when you could just see like a crazy picture of your friend boxing with a wolf and boom, you're there. So I don't really quite get the whole computer assisted language learning stuff, except for my iPhone here, but it's all imagination based, and it's really, really fun, and it works really fast because I did 11 words in 15 minutes, and imagine how many could be done in an hour, and imagine doing that once a day for 6 months. Man, you would know a lot of words. And so long as you are, again, reading, writing, speaking, and listening, you're going to be incorporating them all the time and bumping into them all the time. And this is really fantastic, and all using the powers of your imagination, which means that you get stronger and stronger and stronger as you go along. You get better at memory skills, and so that you just get it right now, this feeling that you can come up with these great images that allow you to memorize exactly what you're looking for. So I talked about recall rehearsal, and one of the things is to remove yourself from the material that you've studied. So in this case, the book on the iPhone and the dictionary, and just using your memory alone, write out what it was you memorized. And I did really, really good. And normally I would do longer, but there's other things to do, like making videos like this to help people. So but I would try to do it for at least an hour, and that would be many, many words, like between, let's say, 30 and 50 words, depending on their difficulty or whatever. Maybe I'm not coming up with the right image right away, and then I skip some, or I come back, or I make the mistake of waiting too long instead of going forward, which happens a lot of the time, even with a lot of experience. But yeah, I'd say between 35, 50 words in an hour, which is just fantastic. Then, right away, go through them, rehearse them, make sure that you got them, and then an hour later, write them down again, and write them down again, maybe 2, 3 more times that day, and the next day, and the next day, and then not again for a week, and you'll find that you have these in your long-term memory. And again, there's the assumption that as a serious student of Spanish, you're reading, writing, speaking, and listening frequently. So let's talk about some of the pros and the cons here. The major pro is that you learn lots of words quickly, and you learn them totally just as you go along, based on the sentences that you're reading. And because of the way the dictionary works, this digital dictionary, you learn multiple versions of the words and the phrases as you go along, because usually these words have some sort of example phrase, and then they show how the concept behind the word works in other phrases as well, because they don't always match up. So that's kind of cool. You also end up learning words that are more advanced than in beginners books and in books about travel phrases and so forth. You also discover words that help you express yourself better and develop your own style, which is really cool. A lot of people feel like they're stuck to the travel phrases for a long time, but this really opens the field and gets you some great words to use and spice, you know? And of course, even if this is a little bit different than the normal magnetic memory method, because you're using the magnetic memory method as such, in many ways you get better and faster at the method, which means you can memorize more stuff much more quickly and with a whole lot more fun. And that's one of the major pros of doing things this way, is because it is fun. And you know, there's nothing that can't be injected with joy, and this just makes everything so much better in all of life. And I think that being able to use your imagination instead of index cards and spaced repetition software is just immediately much more fun. So I highly recommend doing this kind of thing with your mind, your natural imagination. The cons here is that reading along and memorizing words that are cool, or just words that you don't know because you don't know them, is somewhat random. There's no strategy behind it. And so, you know, how much progress are you going to really make if you know 5 different words for darkness when you really just need only one? It is going to boost your fluency, that's absolutely true, but well, my friend Ollie Richards at iwillteachyoualanguage.com, he often points out that you should focus on the words that you need right now and focus on the words that are inside of your area of interest so that you can express yourself that way, which is, of course, very sage and wise advice. Now, another con here is that using the magnetic method, you know, the magnetic memory method, requires learning it and practicing it. And this is not a con at all. I'm just making a bit of a joke. But many people won't take this step to learn a dedicated memory strategy. It doesn't have to be mine. It's just very important that you get it and you get something that lets you make your mind magnetic, because this is what mnemonics are. This is what memory skills are all about. And it's just incredibly amazing what you can do, how much information you can memorize when you just know even just a little bit about mnemonics. So I really think that this is just a crime against humanity that people don't use this much more often. And I don't want to get dramatic, but you know, another point about all this is that it's just simply an incredible thing, the human mind, and just by training it a little bit, you can do so much. It's just like 10 push-ups a day can do so much for your body. 10 memorized words a day can do so much for your mind. So enough about that. The other con here is that, and I already sort of went over this, you learn words that are more advanced than beginners' books and travel phrases, and they may be too advanced, as Ollie Richards often points out, for your needs right now. And so it's that focusing on right now that you're probably not going to get if you're reading stories and memorizing words as you go through sentences. Now, the other con is that you don't like fun and you don't want to learn new words really fast, so you'll be totally irritated by the next best thing to real magic, which is what memory techniques can do for you. And believe it or not, there are people who don't like fun. It's crazy, and they probably don't like ice cream either, which is bordering on insane. In any case, the next YouTube video is coming soon, and I will teach you more about memory skills and chart out my various adventures in applying it to language learning and other things like math and poetry and all the wonderful things you can do with mnemonics. And yeah, I might be in a mood like this where everything is happy, joy, which is almost likely because this is the mood that I'm often in. Now, if you thought this video was helpful and you kind of like how it rolls along with some interesting thoughts about language learning and using mnemonics to do it, then you're going to love how to learn and memorize the vocabulary of any language. It's a course that you can get into that goes into so many details about how to use memory palaces and really guides you by the hand through the entire process, specifically with the focus on language learning. And you can apply it to Spanish, you can apply it to any language that you're learning, but I know you're doing Spanish, so you'll be very pleased to know that it works incredibly well for that language. And you'll learn the best memory palaces for that language as well. And the primary benefits of taking these steps in the magnetic memory method program and in memory training are manifold. Starting from scratch as a new memorizer, you'll experience a stronger memory that leads to clearer thinking. And unlike general memory trainings that are all over the place, we're going to focus on a specific application, which is language learning. That's exactly what we want. And you get amazing practice in visualization and conceptualization that profoundly increases your creativity. You learn to organize vocabulary in your mind in creative ways so you can review it and place it in long-term memory. And it's not just that they're creative ways, but they're also structured, strategical ways so that you're reducing effort, you're reducing the cognitive load that's necessary for language learning, which, that feeling you're just like, oh, this stuff is not sticking in my head. Well, a lot of that has to do with this cognitive overload. So you take a bit of time to prepare some memory palaces, you learn the techniques, and then you're able to significantly decrease, if not diminish, and remove this cognitive load that creates this feeling that it's just impossible, and it really isn't. And this is a great way to get over that. So in this course, what you're going to learn specifically is how to create alphabetized memory palaces for storing foreign language vocabulary. We're going to talk about how to properly divide words into component parts, how to create bridging figures that help you memorize many words at the same time. And that's one of the other cons with this method, is that it's very hard to have significant bridging figures. I had Bo a little bit, but because of the switching and alphabetization, he didn't really fit for everything. And then came a duck, and there came my friend Jerome, and it's not elegant in the same way as the magnetic memory method used properly because of the bridging figures principle. You're also going to learn how to memorize both the sound and the meaning of each word together every time, so that you're recalling them together and that you know exactly how to use them based on that linkage between meaning and sound. And that's very important. And you can include spelling as well, and you can apply this to entire phrases. It's not just about words, but entire phrases, sentences, and again, listening, reading, writing, and speaking Spanish as you go along is absolutely central. But how are you going to do that if you don't have a large pool of vocabulary? So why take this course? Well, as I said, other memory trainings focus on memory skills in general, and they have like sometimes 3 pages or a couple things about language learning, but there's no comprehensive entire program just for that. And no other trainings teach you how to effectively overcome the forgetting curve by capitalizing on the serial positioning effect in your mind, rather than using space repetition software. So just imagine that you could get all the benefits of space repetition software without having to bore yourself looking at cards flashing in front of your eyes, because you can do this in your own mind, and it's just fantastic. And whereas other programs talk about self-development as hard work, we're talking about experimentation and fun. This is always about fun. This is always about using our creativity and developing it and becoming stronger and stronger in our minds, becoming creative people who are just absolutely fun to be around, because you have so much energy that you develop from using these skills in a particular way. Because that's really what's really important here, is that a lot of people get tired out from their activities and it depletes their energy. And you want to be approaching language learning in a way that you feel more energetic by the time that you're done than you did before you started, right? And that's what makes memory skills and the magnetic memory method so special, is because it does that. It gives you excitement and it pushes you towards joy and happiness and energy, rather than, oh, this is a chore and then I'm getting so tired and I can't focus anymore. This is not the problem. You come out on the other end with way more happiness and energy than you did when you started every time, and that's absolutely guaranteed. And you also get the magnetic decision guarantee. So you can try how to learn and memorize foreign language vocabulary for 30 days, and if it's not something for you, refund it and keep everything. Keep the bonuses forever, and just come and get what you need so that you can learn these methods. They're absolutely one of they're just really great, and you should get them. And the alternatives, of course, are hours and hours of research looking for free memory improvement materials on the internet, none of which have nearly as much the detail that the magnetic memory method brings. And other general memory training programs cost $297 and up. And I'm not going to cite them by name, but you'll probably find them if you go poking for them, and you should, because it's very interesting and good to be informed. I even have a thing on my website called the Memory Training Consumer Awareness Guide, because I'm so devoted to people knowing what to look for that I created it, even though it would potentially take people away from being interested in me, because I teach you how to critique memory trainings. But that's what's very important to me, is that you have the ability to assess what you're getting into, because memory training is that important. Now, why commit to getting started right now? Well, every day that you're not using advanced memory skills, you lose memory improvement that leads to better thinking, decision making, higher levels of professionalism, and leading to results in every area of your life, not just language learning. You also get the ability to fascinate others with your skills, and that's not talking about, ego or anything like that. That's actually being able to help other people, being able to teach them what you know, and actually inspire them. It's not just about impressing them, but inspiring them, because anything that anybody else can do, you can do too, and they can do as well. So you become a good citizen of the world by improving your memory. And the benefits of memorizing material for interpretation and reflection are just so widespread. You can go around thinking about the words you've learned without having to look at index cards, and you can contemplate how the language works from inside your head. And the more you memorize, the more you can do that, and it's a great feeling. You also get to experience, of course, boosts in fluency in the language you're studying, and your own. You can learn your own mother tongue much, much better simply by having a memory strategy. So to sum all this up, you can build memory palaces. You can build lots of them. You can even build them while you're in bed. You can memorize so much before your feet even hit the floor. You can improve your income, become more professional, gain newfound respect from your friends and colleagues, and make a great impact on the world while you're becoming more fluent in Spanish. And there's a next level for those who want to take their memory skills beyond practical application, which are things that you learn about in the course. And every day that you cannot remember the important information in your life with crystal clarity, you are daily missing out on many of life's most cherished pleasures, which one of the biggest is the ability to understand, speak, and write and read in another language. And Spanish, wow, is a fantastic language to have under your belt for these purposes. So here's what you get when you order today. You get how to learn and memorize the vocabulary of any foreign language, which is normally $97. You get the Magnetic Memory Method newsletter, which is included inside the course. There's like 700 plus pages of writing about memory palace techniques. And you get an interview with Harry and Lorraine. I'm also going to give you, when you email me your receipt, the ultimate language learning secret. And so all these things together are worth $74. But if you use coupon code YT Spanish, which is YouTube Spanish, for a $20 discount, which you get when you use the link in the video description below, then you're really getting $171 worth of training for just one special introductory investment of $77. But you need to use that coupon code down in the link below. So the link actually has the code inside of it, but if you come across the course in any other way, then you can just put in YT Spanish when it offers you to redeem a coupon code, and you'll get that reduction. And you're really going to enjoy the course, and you really deserve to have that discount, because it's really, really important that you get this. So there's more. I really love that. But wait, there's more from the long infomercials, which I'm sure you remember from television, and maybe they still have them. I haven't watched TV for so long, but clearly I enjoyed them, because I just love making these kinds of videos and impressing you with all my passion and joy for the magnetic memory method, for language learning, for all things that have to do with mnemonics, and helping people get a better idea of what they're all about and using them to make positive change in their life. So yes, we must wait, because there's more. And if you send me a copy of your receipt, you're going to get how to memorize names and faces as well. So you need to tell me that you got this through the YT Spanish coupon code, and you're going to get these things. You're going to get the ultimate language learning secret and how to memorize names and faces absolutely free, which is a very, very good course that takes you specifically into this realm of memorization strategies. And so you're going to learn the weakest, the standard, and the magnetic ways to memorize names, because there's actually different ways. I'm going to cover the stuff that's in all the books about memorizing names and faces, and even some that aren't in those books before we even get to the magnetic memory method way of memorizing names. And we're going to talk about ways to store large numbers of names for long-term memorization, and 3 ways to memorize how people look. And that's one of the major problems with most books and trainings on names memorization, is that they don't include how to memorize the face. So if you're a cop or some kind of professional where identifying people by how they look is important, or you just want to have that ability, this is the course for you. And you get a special exercise to speed up your memory so you can memorize more a lot faster. And so just send your receipt to learnandmemorize@zoho.com and quote that you got the YT Spanish coupon special, and I will send you these special gifts. So remember, every day that you're not using this simple vocabulary memorization system, you are literally stealing from yourself the joy of reading, speaking, and understanding Spanish, and of course writing it as well, as you easily expand the natural abilities of your mind. But just about the magnetic memory method itself, you don't have to take my word for it about how great it is. In fact, you might want to just have a listen to this.
You've been very inspiring for me to listen to and to follow so far, and I'm so grateful for having found you and the work that you do. There's so much information out there about learning and about memory, and I remember the first video that I heard from you on YouTube. I think it was like 30 minutes long. I knew that. I knew that you were my guy, that you were the one that for me to learn from. Gosh, I've pored over books, I've watched videos. I have never come across anyone else that goes into the detail that you do in breaking it down and in actually teaching how this works. So that's what you're doing. I mean, at least to me, is groundbreaking. I mean, it's new, and I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Again, I really am very grateful that I found your method, and that you've been so kind and generous here, because it's given me a lot of hope. I honestly, I was just so petrified about this coming semester because of the amount of information I have to remember, and so in June, I started outlining the chapter, and all I found I was doing was I was rewriting the text in outline form, and nothing was sticking. So then I read this book on mind mapping. So then I tried doing that, and I have a software, and then all to me all that's doing is it's outlining the text in the mind map form. Although a little better, still nothing sticks. But with your method, I know I'm very excited because all of a sudden in my mind I'm thinking, you know what, I can memorize or study. I can study anything. That's just I never thought that before, but now I think I don't know, bring it on.
So that's all for today. And if you're interested in applying the magnetic memory method to your Spanish language learning efforts, click the link in the description box below. And if for any reason it's not already coupon coded when you get there, use the code YT Spanish for a very special discount. Email me your receipt, because I'm going to send you the Ultimate Language Learning Secret, and I'm going to send you the Names and Faces course, so that you are absolutely prepared to make massive memory success in your mind. So this has been Anthony Metivier from magneticmemorymethod.com, and I really want to thank you for your attention, and I really want to congratulate you on taking these steps towards improving your memory and the quality of your mind. So we'll talk again very soon. Bye bye.